Welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. This is a review for a Netflix show called Altered Carbon. The creator is Lita Coladrigas, and it's based on a book by Richard K. Morgan by the same name. Came out in 2002. It stars Joel Kinnaman and Martha Hikaria. The synopsis is, set in the future where consciousness is digitized and stored, a prisoner returns to life in a new body and must solve a mind-bending murder to win his freedom. And Keith, what did you think of all 10 episodes of Altered Carbon?
The first half of those episodes, I was all on board. I read the books, love the books.
Keith is the bookworm of the Beast Game Podcast.
I am indeed. Love those books. 3 novels, Richard K. Morgan. Read them, get them. They're definitely worth the read. I don't try to imprint what I think they should be too much as possible. The first half, I'd say the first 6 to 7 episodes were pretty faithful to the book novels, and they did a pretty good job. Got a little slow with that first episode, but as they start moving along, they start doing things the way I kind of always imagined it books would be if they brought to realize it. The last 3 to 4 episodes, no. I don't know what the hell they were doing.
It just went going to say the same thing.
It went left, then right, then back in reverse, and just rear-ended some old lady off the rails all over the place.
Super flimsy.
I thought that entire premise is well done. That cyberpunk-esque.
It's a combination of a couple of things. So in my notes, I put down, it's a bit of The Matrix, Total Recall, Blade Runner, Demolition Man, Ghost in the Shell, RoboCop, Inception, Repo Man, and Dredd. As a matter of fact, Judge Dredd could exist in this world. But go ahead, Keith.
Kinnaman was a good choice. He definitely had the physical characteristics that I was before. I thought the action scenes were pretty good, actually. Some may disagree, but I actually enjoyed the action scenes. The way they kind of portrayed the envoys kind of went off a bit, but it did capture the kind of essence of these guys being just absolute badasses. But what they didn't do, and what I kind of thought was going to happen, was that Altered Carbon is each novel treats the physical body that the character's in as just that. They're just tools. Your body is just a tool. And it's the mind behind it, the consciousness within it. That's where the story leads and everything. So the character, Kovash, he'll jump into a new body like it's jumping into a better car. Unfortunately, because it's a TV show and they've got to have leading men and women selling it, it deviates from that. I mean, it does it to the best it can by bringing in other alternates for the character, showing his original body and everything, just how they kind of utilize him for different purposes. But in the end, it kind of felt a little flat in that regard. Kind of wish they had done more with the climax. The twist was okay with up to a point, but in the end, it didn't work. Actually, storytelling they did up until those last few episodes was solid. And that's because it came from the book. The whole mystery angle was detective noir element. That's where the TV show was going. I mean, that's where it was shining. Just keeping maintaining those elements. If they just took this straight from the book and just kept those changes to the minimum, the twist that they threw in and everything, and the introduction of these other characters and stuff was unnecessary. The family they brought in, that was unnecessary. They really didn't serve too much of a purpose for the story. The special effects were good. The action was good. Acting for most of the characters was pretty good, at least for what I was looking for. But that's not one of Netflix's best. It's definitely a more of a miss than a hit.
What I felt about this, when I watched the very first episode, this show is very hard science fiction and noir. Right down to the trench coat. One of my problems early on was that it was too esoteric, and likely because I didn't read the book, I didn't necessarily understand every aspect. From the first 2 or 3 episodes, I would say that it's really substance over style. It's a difficult time trying to figure out what was going on, and there's too many terms, too many plot threads, and then if I had to describe it, I would just say because of all the lore and everything behind it, it was just heavy. I also had a lot of issues early on with the flashbacks, the acting, the voiceover, the internal monologue, the hallucinations, and the mystery woman. And this, again, is very early on. I dislike Joel Kinnaman because he's bland. I felt the first 3 episodes were a disappointment. It didn't do enough to establish the world, and I thought this was about as bad as the Iron Fist. All right. Hold on.
Go ahead.
So what happened was that after I watched episode 3, I decided not to give up on it, went online, read a wiki. After reading the wiki, things started to make sense. as I said, it's kind of a mishmash of a lot of different elements from either movies or other books. I didn't understand about the whole consciousness jumping in through bodies, living forever, and all the terms. I understood that after reading the wiki. I feel that episodes 4, 5, and 6 are the strongest episodes of the season. Episode 4 was the torture episode. Episode 5 was the episode about Riker. And episode 6 was Tak fighting the dude in his own body.
Yeah, that was badass.
Yeah. So
who's the actor who played Tak?
He's the dude that was in Sleeping Dogs. So it's Will Young Lee.
He needs to be out there doing more stuff.
So the mystery started working. The entire setting and Kinnaman's acting started to click with me. Was what everything needed in the context of the story. Another thing that I liked was that there was a lot of dynamics going on. So you have rich versus poor, people that believe in sleeves, the people that don't, people that believe in religion versus people that don't, life itself, family issues, the VR in the real world, real people versus AI. That's a lot of stuff. Actually
did a pretty decent job for the most part in kind of limiting your exposure to that, to the actual story. I mean, it kind of went off a bit when it started with the AIs and everything.
Yeah.
But
and then you have synthetics that also come into play with that. So it's real people, AIs, and synthetics. My negatives. This is where a lot of things come into play. Was that I didn't like the fight choreography because I don't like the way they was shot. Again, they did a poor job establishing the story early on in the world. And I brought up Dread earlier. And Dread is a good example of conveying a world in a short amount of time.
What Dread did, it was that it didn't sit there and have to explain everything through flashbacks or anything like that. It basically says you got dumped into the world and you followed those characters. You were
along for the ride.
Exactly. And then you picked up exactly how things worked pretty quickly. But also the character himself and what they were doing was pretty simple as well. So, but they conveyed very well the way the economy worked, how a person with a stack with enough money who can clone their own bodies can jump into any body that any physical body, any sleeve that they want.
Also, some more negatives. The romance between Tak and Quell early on, it just started getting on my nerves because, I don't like flashbacks. I would also say the same thing with Tak and Ortega. Their romance didn't seem fully fleshed out.
Yeah, that was a little forced. That was only because it was in the book, but that's fine.
And then I understand her connection to Riker, but not Tak. Where this starts to go completely downhill is after episode 7. Everything after episode 7 is terrible.
The worst part about it, and that's where they just went completely away from the book at that point. At the end, they decided to wrap up the original story and stuff, which was fine. But the whole end scene, that whole leading up to the end game, was played out completely differently, but in the books. But it was done kind of haphazardly. You didn't understand the whole impact of double sleeving. So the entire religious angle is all about the fact that humans have souls and they believe that it's one body, and that when the body dies, it wasn't about that God only gave you one body. That's the only body you can have. It was that the religious belief is that you're not taking a person's soul. The consciousness isn't the soul. All you're doing is killing your body and your soul goes away and you're going into something else, and to a dead shell, so to speak. Basically a zombie living in your body and stuff. And that's what they're all against, because it's against the whole natural order of things. And the biggest thing about
that's where that part comes into play with Ortega's grandmother.
Right.
And she was like, well, hey, this was fun, but I'm kind of done with this whole thing.
Exactly. Like, there comes a time when you need to die. There comes a time where people need to move on.
Well, let me ask you something about the book. Is that a little bit more straightforward in the book, or does it jump back and forth?
Yeah, it's all over. He's got to explain what an envoy is, because basically, if you take place the main storyline, it's all taking place in first person too. So a lot of his thoughts and stuff are based on what happened in the past. He'll go on things like when he remembers his past, he'll go through a flashback chapter where it talks about what he did in the past and stuff, and just basically him being an unrepentant bastard, right now. It did bounce back, but they bounced back around as a mode of explanation. Through those bounce backs and stuff, you were told how this world worked and stuff. Envoy Uprising, that took place because the envoys, they actually worked for the Protectorate. The entire point for them was that they had this mental conditioning that they can jump into any sleeve at any point in time.
And they can control all the after effects that
and they were ready for action, do the job, and then get out. So like you can't like transport your whole body and equipment there. They get dumped into a bare naked 12-year-old, and they'd be able to like fuck up an entire
It becomes
city.
like the Matrix.
Exactly. So they jump inside any sleeve, anybody, and then they would just take care of the mission and then leave. But the Protectorate banned them, destroyed them because they were too fucking dangerous. Ninja Jedi and shit, just going around, just fucking shit up and everything. So they got ousted, disenfranchised, and in the end, the uprising was them trying to get some measure of control, deciding like, fuck it, we can run this place better than anybody else. They got fucking killed, and Kovacs was the last one ever. The whole point was like, you're bouncing back and forth between these bodies. What's going on with the soul? The idea is that your consciousness doesn't matter. So the end sequence when he double sleeved himself was a huge fucking deal because from a religious side, he copied his soul. So they're literally two people with the same legal rights as the one.
Yeah. So I guess if this was a different science fiction where you are talking about time and then two people
like
that have time traveled are in the same space, that should ruin everything.
This is all a huge legal ramification. Like, they're two berries running around. He's got the same rights to all of your stuff as you. And then it's impossible to tell who the original is. You can't tell who was born or who was dead and stuff. So the minute someone's double sleeve, both of them get killed. They're not even going to deal with that type of paradox at all. Kill them both. Done. That's one less person in the world. The guys like Bancroft, who were so rich, as long as they kept that whole system of backing up their
consciousness,
their stacks, backing up their consciousness at intervals, if anything happens to them, it's considered all they're doing is losing their memories. So
that's like one of the things I didn't understand because they kept referring to meths, and I understood it after I read the wiki where it was like Methuselah.
You basically live forever. You kill them, they pop back up, they hit the same amount of wealth and money, and they just keep accumulating more wealth. And there's no way anyone can catch up to them. They're older than shit. The really rich could clone their bodies and grow clones that would be as real as possible, or they can just buy a synthetic body.
And it also reminded me of that Justin Timberlake movie, Out of Time, or something like that. I can't remember what that was.
Right.
You had to buy more time.
Yeah, buy more life. Those last few episodes, it went off the fucking rails. The daughter who got her
synthetic body
fucked up and shit, that didn't happen to her. That actually happened to Kovacs when he fucked them up. But he actually did what he did in that clinic when he killed everybody and everything in there, which was pretty cool.
That seemed like that was straight out of a horror movie. But what about that whole angle with his sister? Because that's the crux of the whole show, that she did it out of love. That sister
shit didn't happen in the books. His sister died. From what I remember, I think she died, or she may have lived a decent life and stuff, but he would remember her, and his flashback about his family, and that was where he came to be, what he was. The Protectorate guy who was his nemesis, who was tracking him down, and that shit didn't happen. And some of the stuff with his sister killing Kilcrest just for him and shit, that was just outlandish bullshit. Like the character Raylene Kawahara was in it, but she was like this straight opportunist and stuff. But making him his sister was just like, I don't know what the fuck. It was like one of those Abrams movies. It would be cool if this happened.
Too many layers of stuff just laid on top of each other. You have the guy Vernon and his family, the guy Tanaka, the whole Bancroft stuff, Quell, and then you got Ortega and her family, and it just started going in directions that I just didn't want it to go in. I think if it wasn't confined to some of the elements of the book, and I'm not saying that it's a bad book or anything, what they did in order to fix some of the additions were probably worse. So like the TV part of it got worse.
The parts you liked, those were in the books. The parts you didn't like were not. Straight away from the book and the novel and tried to, wrap things up for television and make it more understandable. They fucked up. Those first few episodes, you could follow along, or some people could follow along with what was going on without having too much info. It didn't need to have all these forced connections.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the parts that Barry liked was actually in the novel or the series of books, and the things he didn't like was not in it. So is this the first time that you could actually say the things that they didn't add any depth to the story?
No, they tried to add depth to the story, but it didn't fit into the context of what they were doing. This was supposed to be a noir film. This was from beginning to end. This should have been a detective thriller.
Hard to watch, like Blade Runner 2049.
That's pretty accurate. It was way too many forced connections. If they just kept it simple and stuck to the confines of that, because the scope of the world is so broad and like you can't really wrap your head around the idea of taking your soul, your consciousness and move it into another body. You just like, you know what? I'm getting old. I'm like 85 years old. Time for an upgrade. Pop your brain out. You pop out your stack, your conscious, and dump it into another body. And no one can wrap their head around it. It's absolutely impossible. If you think about it, it'd be cool. Like take my brain and put it into another body. That's essentially what it is. You take your brain, put it into another body. And that body is epic, can do whatever you want. And then you're like, when I'm tired of this body, just like a new car, I'm going to move on, upgrade to another one, to the latest model.
It's something that would just benefit the rich.
The book tackled a whole lot of stuff. Like it tackled the distribution of wealth, the economy. It tackled space travel. For instance, the whole point for the stacks was so that they can send explorers, launch bodies, and all the equipment you want to a distant place. 60 years later, they will get there and land. You then send your consciousness to those bodies.
Just like a radio signal picking up on a radio or something.
Exactly. Like you would send your conscience there and you would work at there and you'd have it set up. After hundreds and hundreds of years, they've had this huge network, hundreds of planets that they've colonized. Every person is born after once they hit 1 year old, they're implanted with a stack that records all of their memories, records their consciousness. So if the body dies, the consciousness stays alive and can be moved into another body.
So in essence, you're immortal if you have the money.
If you have the money, you are immortal.
And that's one of the aspects of the show, and it's kind of the crux of the story.
That's my thoughts.
All right, so let me just bring up a couple of characters and just quick comments about the characters. So, Kristen Ortega, how did you feel about her?
The character, I mean, fine, but the actress was not. They could have found a better actress.
Next major character is Bancroft.
I thought he was good. I thought James Purefoy did a good job with him. He's a little heavy-handed with some of the scenes, but like that scene where he was down with the poor people and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a little heavy-handed with it, but
yeah.
I thought he did a good job of conveying it. I kind of wish, it's not a knock against the actor, but one of the reasons he played on the whole thing that he was older and the reason he kept himself looking older.
Because he felt that older people were more respected.
It's all about his respect and everything. But at the same time, he was kind of heavy-handed with some of the his acting and everything. But I mean, I like the actor, and I thought he did a decent job. I like the character as well. It was actually true to form. Bancroft was a lot like that, viciousness,
smug.
And
yeah, he was smug, but
he thought he was above the human. But in the end, they're all the same. They act just as everyone else. So,
all right. So, what about Vernon? So,
unnecessary.
It's like he needed a
now,
buddy.
I will say this: the character who ended up playing his wife, that was actually well done. The way that they
later in the
acted
season,
and chemistry kind of showed you actually believe that was a woman in a man's body. That's why I like the acting in this. It was very much like that. So,
all right. So next thing is Raylene. Quick comment.
Making her the sister was dumb. Just kept her as a separate character. No,
all right,
no, didn't work.
And what about Poe?
Poe actually worked for a bit. Like the whole idea of the vicious, I'm going to kill you AI and stuff. He was a super smart computer whose job was to take care of his residents and had the best themed hotel out there. So I thought that was a cool take on it. Like I'd rather see more movies dealing with like that type of artificial intelligence aspect than anything else. The character of Kilcrest, Falconer. I liked her. I liked the actress who played her. She did a good job. And I thought her character was vital because she plays a huge role in the book series.
All right. So let's wrap this up. What score would you give Altered Carbon?
This is a hard one. I wanted to like this movie, so I'll probably this TV series. I'll watch it again, and I will watch season 2 just to see how it works. I can't rate this any higher than a 6. Unlike you, I thought the action was pretty decent. I think it'll only get better. I think with the limited resources they had, they did a pretty good job.
It looked great.
It
looked great, and not once did I really feel as if it wasn't where they said it was. It didn't feel as if they were shooting on a sound stage or certain things. I felt in the world, but the story itself, oh God, I was like.
But I'll give season 2 only a couple episodes. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go all in like I did this time.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. All right. At some point when it was episode 6 and 7, I'm like, I understand everything. Now this is turned around. And then episode 8 happened. So right when it was episode 7, this was like a 6.5. And then episodes 8, 9, and 10 occurred, particularly episode 10. Why does this exist? Why is this even here? Why is this 10 episodes? Where everything was kind of wrapped up in episode 9. There's this epilogue of hey, this is how everything wrapped up. It wraps up so quickly that it just does not make sense at all. I started deducting points. So we'll give points to episodes 4, 5, and 6 and episode 7. So that's 4 points. I will give points to the world itself, the way that it looked, the idea behind the story, half points there. So it looks good. It sounds good. I understand the concepts. So I'm going to give it a 5.5. And I'm really giving it a 5.5 because those other episodes, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, they need not to exist. Particularly the last 2 episodes, because it could have been written a lot better. It could have worked itself out a lot better. Judging from what you just said, that certain characters just did not exist. So they're created specifically for this show. It really shows at the point that someone ran out of ideas. In order to wrap all this stuff up, we have to make everybody important, make everyone have a happy ending, except for Bancroft. And that's Beast Game Podcast.
Well, you got to give episodes 1, 2, and 3 better shot.
I would give episode 3 a better shot. Yeah, that's why I was like, this is wacky and crazy, and I understand it. And I'm on board with this. And like I said, the episode about the torture where he's torturing him in virtual, and it's just like, oh, well, I didn't get what I want. Let's just restart everything. Putting worms in his body. I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't like the action.
I didn't like the way that it was shot. They're doing like slow-mo, but they're not even connecting. The action just was not shot well. Particularly episode 9, where they have to bring down, I guess it's Heaven on Earth or whatever the heck it's called. They're trying to bring that down, and they're breaking in. Ortega's trying to kill Leung. And he was funny. It's like, are you a believer?
Kovacs killed him way early and something like that.
But it was just those later episodes that just turned my opinion of this. Might watch season 2. So I remember early on, Man in the High Castle. I did not like things early on. And then that turned out to be a pretty good show. Season 2 was a slight letdown from season 1, but it needs to get better. It needs to get better quickly. So season 2 needs to have better writers and a better production team for me to want to watch this again. That's the Beast Game Podcast. Wo Young Lee, Wei Shen, you my dude, yo. Kovacs.
Oh, shit. Hold on. He was in this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wei Shen.
Yeah, technically he's the main character. Because the main character has different bodies.
Kinnaman was the main character.
Well, the main character has different bodies. So Keith can explain.
Different bodies. So, like, they got good actors. So I thought the minute I saw they put William Lee in that, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, this might work. Because if you get good actors, for instance, the next season, it shouldn't have Joe Kinnaman. It's going to have someone else in it.
I got you. So
if they got a new body, it's a different actor. And he should
have but the same person.
And think about Doctor Who.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I was about to say, like, different doctors. Same personality, different actors. Exactly. All right, got you. Man, check this out.
We gave it almost the same score, man. But I knew it was supposed to be noir. I didn't expect it to be something like Sin City. But it was just all that other stuff, like all the terms and stuff. They didn't explain it well. So yeah, for me, it wasn't until I read a wiki where stuff started to improve. Because again, I was like, this is worse than Iron Fist. I thought it was. It got better.
We were first talking about it. No.
It got better in a way that Iron Fist did not.
I knew you and I were going to be on the same page with this shit.
Because I remember I talked to you, what the heck?
I was all over this shit. I was like, yes, they found the book. Thank you, God. Yes. And then I was like, oh, shit, they found the book. My Perry's not going to like this, but I'm loving it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, God. Oh no. What's going on? What is this? Who is this? My God, this is not going
That last episode, man. Oh, that was painful.